Hi, everybody, and welcome to Math 1350 Introduction to Statistics. My name is Lane McConnell, and I'm going to be your instructor for this course this semester. I want to start by taking a look at our home page. That's what we're looking at here in the background of this video. You can access our homepage for the course, which is going to be the starting point for everything we need this semester, by typing in mycourses.cnm.edu into any browser, and then logging in with your CNM credentials, and lastly, selecting the Introduction to Statistics course. And that'll bring you to this page. On the right side of the page is my instructor profile. It has some useful information that you'll need, including my email address, which is the best way to get in touch with me throughout the semester. I check it on a very regular basis, so if you have any questions or concerns as the semester goes on, this is the place to ask those questions. Below that, I have information regarding my office hours, which are going to come in two formats this semester. Firstly, I will have office hours on Monday mornings from 9 to 10 a.m. via Zoom, and the link to those Zoom meetings is right there in the instructor profile. And then I will also have in-person office hours on main campus. So if you happen to be on main campus on Tuesday or Thursday afternoons, you can come see me in person. The information about that is down below right there as well. As we look at our homepage, there's some other information that's going to be relevant. Check right here for any announcements that get posted. They'll be posted not super often. It won't be an everyday type thing, but probably half a dozen, maybe a dozen times throughout the semester, I'll post some announcements with useful information, so check here for those. And you can also access all of these other important facets of the class down below. We'll get to those in just a minute. To start, I want to look at our syllabus. And the easiest way to access our syllabus is to click here on the menu where it says Coursework, and then select the top option which says Content. And that will take you to a page that looks like this. And so this is going to be sort of the starting point every time you access our course. On the top, we have an overview and syllabus option. We'll click on that in just a minute. This getting started module that we're currently in, that's what you need to do on day one to just get familiar with everything that you need. And down below, we also have these learning modules, which I'll just click into. They will open on a weekly basis, and this is where all the content for the course is contained, including all of the lecture videos that you'll need throughout the semester. So that's going to be a lot of the main things that you'll need to look at. If you scroll down a bit further, there's one other one called ALEKS. That's a really important one, and we'll get to that in just a minute. So let me start up here, though, at the overview and syllabus. When I click on that, it has a brief description of the course, including a whole bunch of learning objectives. Right now, these will seem like a foreign language. There's a ton of statistical jargon in there that you're not going to understand, but hopefully by the end of the semester, all of this will make sense. For now, let's just gloss over it and get down to the actual syllabus itself. So the syllabus is really important. I'm going to want you to go through it pretty carefully. I'm going to go through it with you right now because there is going to be a little quiz just to make sure that you actually understand sort of the setup of the course. So let me start with that at the very top. We've got all of this information, and you know what? This is a little bit tiny. Let me open this as a PDF so we can make it a little bit larger. There we go. Okay. So here's a hopefully slightly larger, slightly more visible. Maybe I can make it even slightly bigger. There we go. Here's that same syllabus, just zoomed in a bit. Again, the top has the same information that showed up in my instructor profile, my email address, office hour details, and where you can find my office on campus. It's in the top floor of the Max Salazar building, if you're familiar. Same thing also that we just scrolled through a minute ago, the course description and the student learning outcomes. Again, lots of jargon. I want to skip most of that for now, but I do want to just take a brief moment to give you kind of an idea about what statistics means to me, and I think this idea will really carry throughout the entire semester in this course. So statistics is really going to be kind of broken down into two facets. We're going to look at sort of descriptive statistics, which is backward looking, and then we're going to look at inferential statistics and probability, which is forward looking. So you can kind of think of it as two separate phases. At the beginning of the semester, we're going to focus on that backward-looking part. And what I mean when I say backward-looking is we're going to be interested in events that have already occurred, looking at data that has already been collected from things that have happened in the past. So, for example, the very beginning of the course, we're going to talk about what are the different types of data that we can collect, and what are some good methods to collect that type of data. From there, we'll talk about how do we then describe and synthesize that data, summarize it, boil it down to something a lot more manageable. And from there, so that's sort of our descriptive statistics, describing that data. From there, we'll move on towards inferential statistics. And inferential statistics means we're interested in trying to infer something from the data that we've collected. So basically, our goal will be to come up with models based on the events that have already happened and the data that we've already collected. Can we come up with some models that describe the way we think things work? Why did that data look the way that it did? And once we have those models, can we then apply those models in a forward probabilistic looking direction to try to think about what will probably happen in the future? And so that's going to be really sort of the tail end of the class. We're going to start with the backwards looking portion. How do we describe that data? Then we're going to go to how do we create models from that data? And then lastly, we'll say, how do we take those models and apply them to make guesses about what we think will probably happen in the future? And there's going to be a whole lot. You'll hear a whole lot more about that in the first lecture video, so I don't want to go into it in any more depth now. But that's a really good, important thing to keep in mind throughout this entire semester. To give you some context of what we're doing, we're going to move from that backward-looking to a forward-looking point of view about statistics. As I scroll through here, again, we can gloss over most of this. I want to get to the text and materials section, because this is going to be important stuff for you. First things first, there is a textbook. You already have paid for it. You have this ebook version of Elementary Statistics by Navidi and Monk, and you have immediate access to it day one via that link that I mentioned earlier called ALEKS, that ALEKS. ALEKS is going to be the starting point for the ebook as well as all of the homework that we do this semester. You shouldn't have to pay to access it. It was already included in the registration fee for the course. But if you do want a hard copy of the book, you can access one or purchase one from the bookstore. They even have just like a loose leaf version that you can put in a 3-ring binder, but it's totally optional, totally not necessary. And my hope is that if you follow my lecture videos carefully, you won't even need to access the ebook very much throughout the semester. I'll show you a little bit about how to access ALEKS, but there's a whole nother video for getting started in ALEKS, so we'll hold off on that for now, and I'll point you in that direction towards the end of this video. The other really important material that you're going to need is a graphing calculator. The one that's specified here is a TI-84, so that's a Texas Instruments 84 model. There's a bunch of variations of that. There's a TI-84 Plus and a TI-84 Silver Edition. If you have an older graphing calculator, a TI-83 or an 83 Plus, those will work as well. And if you have a different brand, HP or Casio, they both make graphing calculators. Those will work as well. You'll just need to do a little bit of Googling to figure out all the commands that you're going to need. But I will, throughout the semester, utilize a TI-84 calculator and show you the exact commands to plug in to get the answers that we're looking for all of our homework problems and eventually all the exam problems that you'll need to do computations for. The only problem with this, excuse me, is that graphing calculators are really expensive. I think this TI-84, you can maybe get it on sale for about $100, but that's the cheapest you'll be able to find it. So what I'd recommend is one of 3 options. If you have the money, just go out and get it. But that's sort of the last resort. If you can avoid that, it's better to actually try to borrow it from a friend or a relative. If you know somebody that has a graphing calculator and will let you borrow it, use that throughout the semester. And the last option, that's also the cheapest free option, almost free option, is to use an app on your phone. So if you have a iPhone or an Android phone, there are links here to download some relatively cheap apps. I think they're $6 or less. I think the iPhone one is maybe like $6, and I think the Android one's only like $3. They may have changed their pricing, I'm not sure. But these will emulate a graphing calculator and allow you to do all the computations that we need this semester. It's a super handy piece of technology. Sorry, just getting over something here. The caveat to this last option, though, is that I cannot let you use cell phones on exams. So if you go for this option, these are great to use for the homework problems throughout the semester. But when it comes time for the actual exams, you'll either need to utilize a built-in spreadsheet that's built into the exam software that we're going to be using. It's an online proctoring software that you may be familiar with. It's called Respondus Monitor. We'll talk about that a little bit more in just a little bit. But you can either use a spreadsheet, or I would recommend going to one of CNM's campuses and borrowing a graphing calculator. If you go to any of the libraries, the front desk, or don't know if I should say any of them. I know at main campus, Montoya campus, and I believe Westside campus, if you go to the libraries, they have a little stash of graphing calculators that they will lend out, and you can use those for the actual exams. So hopefully this makes sense. You can either purchase the calculator, borrow a calculator, or this third option is basically use an app when you're doing the homework, and then go rent an actual calculator just for the exams, so that you can get everything that you need done without having to pay a whole bunch of money for this graphing calculator, for that piece of technology. Beyond that, there's a bunch of other course requirements. I'm going to skip through most of these. A lot of these apply to even in-person students, so I'm going to kind of skip most of this. But basically, stay on top of the class. Don't go weeks and weeks and weeks without logging in. If something comes up and you're not going to be able to work on the class for a while, send me an email and just let me know what's going on. Just keep me abreast of your situation so I can work with you to try to make sure that you stay successful in the course. There are a couple of important deadlines. These registration deadlines, basically these are the last days to drop the course and either get a refund. So January 22nd, you can get your money back. And then March 22nd is the deadline to drop the course. You'll receive a withdrawal, a W, on your transcript. But this is about a month before, not even a month before the end of the semester. So you should have a pretty good sense of where your standing is in the course by the time we get to that date. We'll already have gotten some exams back, and you should have a good sense of how you're doing in the course. I'm going to skip all the way down to the grading policy, because that's the next thing that you'll probably care about. The grading policy is a standard one, right? A's are in the 90s and above, B's are 80s, C's are 70s, and so on. Your grade is made up of several components. A big one is that ALEKS homework that I mentioned. And again, I will come show you how to access ALEKS in just a minute at the end of this video, but it's going to be worth 30% of your grade. That's worth as much as both of your midterm exams combined. So 30% for the homework. Make sure that you stay on top of the homework. To make it easier for you, if you read down here, which I guess it's not going to, there we go. For that ALEKS homework, you don't need to get 100% in order to get full credit. I'm going to have a threshold of 80%. So if you maintain an 80% average, if at the end of the semester you've got 80% of the homework done, I will round your grade all the way up to 100% as far as the homework grade is concerned. It's really meant to be practice for you, and you're going to need to do it in order to get competent at the skills that you need on the exam. When we actually get into the homeworks, I give you unlimited chances on the problems, so you can do and submit the homework as many times as you need to get the grade that you're going for. And then on top of that, I don't even make you get 100%. It's just that 80% average at the end of the semester. So make sure you maintain that, because that gives you a huge cushion in the class in terms of the way your final grade is computed. There's a small participation grade that includes the syllabus quiz that you're going to have to take after this. a couple of small discussion posts. There's not going to be much, just like 2 little short ones, things of that nature. You'll have those midterms I mentioned. They're worth 15% each or 30% total, same as the homework. There's going to be a project at the end of the semester worth 10% of your grade. And then we'll have a final exam that'll be worth 25% of your grade. For all of the exams, I'm going to allow you to use a sheet of notes. Hopefully this is going to stand. This is what I'm intending to do, but the department's trying to come up with a policy to standardize what students are allowed on different exams. But basically, I'm going to allow you a sheet of notes, an 8.5 by 11 sheet of notes, single-sided for the midterms, double-sided for the final exam. So we'll talk more about those when we get closer to the exams. You'll be taking those exams, as I mentioned, using Respondus Lockdown Browser. There are instructions on how to download and install that if you're unfamiliar with it. We will have a practice run through in week 2 to just kind of get the format of an exam down, because it's going to be kind of a complicated thing the way that I do it in here. You take it online and it's proctored with a webcam and all of that, but it's really like a pencil and paper exam. And so it's something where you're going to record yourself taking the exam, but at the end of that, you're going to actually have to like scan or take pictures of your exam and upload it so that I can actually grade it. My goal is to try to create something as similar to an in-person type exam as I could. And so we'll see how that goes. We'll try it out in week 2. If you do not want to use the Respondus Lockdown Browser, some people feel like it's an invasion of privacy. I totally get that. You will also have the option to come take your exams in person on campus. You'll just need to let me know so that we can schedule that at the assessment center. They have a testing center on campus where you can come take your exams in person if you'd prefer. So again, we'll talk more about that when we get to exams. But for now, just know that that's kind of going to be the approach that we're going to take a look at. After that, let me just scroll through all this other stuff. The last thing you'll maybe want to look at is a brief tentative schedule. It shows what sections we're going to be covering each week. It shows which weeks our exams are on. So week 6, week 11, we have our 2 midterms, and then our final exam is that last week. So hopefully this is everything that you need. I'm going to hop out of here, go back to our homepage. Let me scroll up. And actually, you know what? Let me go to the learning modules and let's take a look at these. If you click on the learning modules section over here, and for example, click into week 1, it has an overview of everything we're going to need to do that week, including which submodules, or basically which sections of the textbook that we're going to be covering, which sections and chapters we're going to be covering each week. And one really important thing to look at are these checklists, these weekly checklists. If I click onto the checklist, it presents everything I need to complete in any given week. Once you're done with it, you can check it off. And it also has links to all of the relevant things that you're going to need to access. So for example, it'll give you a direct link to that lecture video for section 1.1, or a link to the lecture video for section 1.2. It'll also allow you to access the homework problems in ALEKS. So you can either access it via clicking here. If I do that, it'll take me to this ALEKS page, but I could have also gotten to this ALEKS page by going back to the table of contents, by simply scrolling down to where it says ALEKS here and clicking on this, and it would bring me to the same page. Once you're here, click on this. This is that first time we access ALEKS. See what it brings up here for us. This is what it'll look like. And it should automatically be linked to your account, so you shouldn't have to really do a whole lot. You may have to, at most, type in your information, probably not even that. So I'm doing it as a demo student that's enrolled in 1 million classes. Hopefully you won't see nearly this many. You'll see 1 class. So let's find that 1 class, the Introduction to Statistics, section 4. Here's my section. And once you click into our class, this is what you'll see. You'll start with this initial knowledge check over here, and this knowledge check will basically go through and get a sense of what your current math skills are, and it'll give you suggestions for topics to brush up on if you're super rusty on things. They're going to be totally optional. The knowledge check itself is not optional. You have to do it. It should take probably anywhere from 30 minutes up to about an hour. If it starts to take you longer than that, just click, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. So you'll see what will happen. If I click start this knowledge check, it'll have these options to go do it in Spanish, but basically it'll tell you to stay focused, give it an honest effort, don't get help from other people. And then it'll go through a guide of how to use all the tools. It has a calculator, all of these various things, and tell you to only use this I don't know button down here if you truly do not know how to start a problem. So let me go ahead and start it all. And give it an honest effort. Take at least 30, 45 minutes. Get as much as you can, because it'll give you a sense of what you actually know. And if you're really rusty, it'll give you good suggestions for topics to study, and it'll give you an optional module to practice those specific topics. But if you really don't know, or if this starts to take more than about an hour, just get through it all and just click I don't know a bunch of times, okay? So get through as much of it as you can, and then go from there. Once you're done with all of this, I'm just going to hit I don't know a bunch of times because I'm going to show you what it looks like at the end if I can get through here. Okay, I knew nothing because I didn't know how to do a single thing. That's not good. If you got half that pie, you're probably in decent shape. By pie, I mean this thing over here. They call it a pie in here. So it'll have a couple of things that'll show up. It'll show this continue my path, which will be this optional review. Again, totally optional. It doesn't count for a grade, but this is also where you'll come to eventually see all the assignments. The assignments that we'll have will eventually be able to click up here. If you don't see them here, click up on this little hamburger menu and go down to where it says assignments, and you'll see all the various upcoming assignments. So right now there's none active because the course hasn't started yet, but you'll see all the upcoming ones here. These are the homework problems that you're going to do for a grade, that 80% threshold that I was talking about earlier. That's these assignments here. So hopefully this gives you a sense of kind of how to get started on day one. If there's anything that's still unclear or you have other questions, just let me know. And otherwise, good luck, and we'll be in touch. Take care.